Hello! In this episode I want to talk about the starting process and the events. And the best way to do that is with the new BLL file. You can get to this file by pressing Ctrl Alt B to go to the config file that is also located in the data folder. You open this folder by pressing Shift Ctrl D, and here we see the new template file. So when we're pressing Shift Ctrl N to create a new BLL file, it's going to create that script. When you run the BLL script, it's going to read the script into the memory, and then it's going to run this function sys on create. Here it's going to set the layout for the application, its behavior, and what components you want to have in the application. When it's done with this function, it's going to call this sys on update windows. And when it's done with this update function, it's going to wait for the user to make its input. And if we go back to the sys on create, we can see here it's calling the function sys load ini, where he read the information from the ini file, and if we have load ini 1, it's going to set the information, the layout for the application from the ini file. If we use load ini 0, it's going to use the layout from the editor, so it's going to have the same position and the size as the editor. But in this example, I want to show you what's happening when you use the ini file information when you're going to run your application. When we're going to run this script for the first time by pressing F5, we see here that he reading the information from the ini file, and ini file is not even created. So when he started the application, going to be imploded like that, and then we need to actually drag it out and put the windows how we want it to look like. And when we stop this program, it's going to call sys on close, and here we see it's going to call a function sys save ini. And we can see those functions if we go to this basic, and if we jump to this file by Ctrl Alt J, we see here is the load ini file, and here is going to put the ini file name together. Then he's going to put a Lua table. So when he read from the ini file and read from category BLL, he's going to put that information in this Lua table. And if the mode was 1, it's going to read the information from the ini file and put the windows size, location, the splitter windows, the profile, and the status bar. And when we close the program, it's going to go to call on close, and this is the function that is called from there. And here we can see he gathered information where the position are located, how big the windows are, and so on, and then they're going to write all that information to the right buffer. And here he actually going to write to the ini file where we set here. So if we go back here, we see here the next thing is that he going to put together the menu, and if we run the program, we can see he creating a file BLL and test menu. And if we jump to this file, we can see that here he deleted all menu what we have, and then he's going to create file BLL and our test, and here he actually going to put it on the menu bar. And the next one is you can put the program in debug mode, and then when you run the program, you're going to see everything he do is like how he is reading the information from the ini file, how he put the icon and all the component that you want to have in your application. And here we see here he is writing to the buffer, and then he is going to end the program by writing to the init file. I'm going to talk more about debugging in another episode, because this only showing that you can use this debug to show what is actually happening. And then we can start with the events that we have in the program. And here we see we have the timer, we have the on event. And to demonstrate that, we can go to our on create and see that we are creating a button here. So if we go to the output window by Alt F, we see here we have a button that have the ID 100, and -1 means that you put that button on this output window. And the button going to have the text stop, and this is the location of the button, and then we don't add any information about the site. So this is the standard 90 pixel button that we input here. And when we press this button, it's going to trigger on event, and we see here we have already 100. And what if the button is pressed, is going to execute this function halt, that is going to terminate the program. And the next is sys on key down. That is a function that is triggered when the user is pressing the key down. And here we can see if we press escape, that have the ASCII 27, is going to terminate the program again. And here is an example for pressing A. And we can also put a sub question there where we say that we want to have control A. And what's going to happen, you put here in this if case. And if your key press is not registered here in this list, you're going to get printed out to the console that key is equal the ASCII value down. And to demonstrating that, if we press A, it's going to not happen anything, because we already have a in our list. We see here 65. And if I press S, we see that that key have ASCII 83 and space is 32. So if you want to add a key press, you can just go and test the program and see the ASCII value and add that to the list here in key down. The next one is sys on key up. And that is when the user relieve its finger from the key going up. And this is what you want to do when the key is leaving the key. And then we see here on mouse over. So when we run this program now, we can see here if we go with the mouse over the button, it's going over the mouse, and we see here it's mouse over 100. That is the ID for our button. And we can also uncomment this by Control M, and then we can run this program and see if I move around in this output window, we see the X and Y coordinates. And if I use the scroll wheel, I can see what happened. And if I press a left keyboard mouse down and I release, I can see when that is happened, and the same is with the right and the middle one. And we can actually comment this again. And the next one in the list is sys on menu. This is when you are pressing a menu item. And here we see that we already have an example for menu 1 and what is going to happen. So if we go up to where it's creating the menu and jump to this file, I can make a, it's already made, so I don't really need it. I add a menu 1, and then I put the label in the menu, and this is the key shortcut. And here we have the status bar, and this is the information that is going to shown in the status bar. This is the bitmap we're going to use, and in this case we are not adding a bitmap, so it's not going to show any, because this I only copy from the BLL.bll file. So you see here there is the system menu ID, but if you add a bitmap here, you can put your picture, and this is going to be the bitmap 1, and this is the picture 23 in that bitmap list. So if we go back to our file by jumping back and pressing F5, we're going to see that we have our hello world here, but nothing is going to happen, and we don't even have a status bar. So we go here on Windows status bar and put that on 1. So we run the program again, and we see here we have the status bar, and if I go here, we can see that he's going to print out in this in the status bar, and here we have F12 hello world. If I press that, it's still not going to happen anything, because we need to go on menu, and then we need to, for example, write something. We echo and we write echo hello world, and when we run this program now, if I press F12, it's going to print out hello world. So a menu could be as a key down, key up feature. If you have problem with that, you can put the key shortcut in the menu, and we can also choose to run our hello world if from the menu. The next one is sys on scintilla. If we go to F1, we can see here in sys function, here is all the event function that BLL have, and we can see on scintilla we have all the event that you can what the application going to trigger if you use a text scintilla object. And last, I want to talk about the timer. We can see here in the template file we have 2 timer that is created, and the first one is have -1. This is timer 1, and it's going to be called endlessly every 10 seconds, and it's going to call this timer loop. And we can go by jump to indexing, Control I, and here we see the timer loop. We can actually make this more clear and echo hello on you. This is going to be triggered every 10 seconds, and then we see here timer 2 is going to trigger 1 time after 3 seconds. So if we run this application, we're going to wait 3 seconds for the first timer to be called timer 2 1 time, and then if we wait 10 seconds more or 7 seconds more, we're going to see hello on you. He's going to put the window on top, and then he's going to say hello on you. And if we wait 10 seconds more, he's going to tell you hello on you. And if we don't stop, he's going to say hello on you forever. This time is called on timer. So we see here, this is the timer 2. He's going to echo out timer 2 1 time. But the timer 1 doesn't call on timer. We want to call its own function. So when timer 1 is called this user made function instead. This is all about the events and the starter process of the BLL script. Thank you for watching. and bye.